In this lecture, we will study about WPAN. WPAN stands for Wireless Personal Area Network. Wireless Personal Area Network is a new member of telecommunication networks. WPAN is a new member of telecommunication networks. In such networks, communication between the network devices carried by one person and surrounding the person happens at a conversational distance. The data rate in such networks remains around 10 bits per second to 10 MB per second. Okay, it has a capacity of 10 bits per second to 10 MB per second of data rate. And wireless PAN represents an example of ad hoc networks such that the devices in such networks, they connect to each other, they are not pre-configured, they connect to each other and they form a network. Okay, and the example of the devices in such networks which form the ad hoc network are PDAs, you have web pad organizers, hand computers, cameras, head mounted displays, etc. And many more devices can be added to this category of networks which connect to each other and they form ad hoc network by using radio signals. Okay, and as we see that for the networking of proximate devices, for the networking of proximate devices means the devices which are around somebody's device, and for the networking of proximate devices, PAN may use wireless medium, that is radio signals, and the PANs which use radio signals, they are termed as wireless PAN. Okay, the wireless PANs, they form a bubble around the person. WPAN forms a bubble around a person. Okay, and this bubble is because of the radio signals, and further this bubble is referred as POS. POS stands for personal operating space. So POS is personal operating space. Okay, so wireless PAN forms a bubble around a person and this bubble is referred as personal operating space. And a fundamental concept behind wireless PAN systems asserts that any time when two wireless PAN equipped devices get within approximately 10 meters of one another, that means their personal operating space or personal operating space intersect, then they can form a spontaneous, just in time and disposable connection. Suppose here we have device 1 and it has its POS like this. So this is referred as POS. POS means personal operating space of this particular device. Okay, and you will have another device. Suppose here you have another device. Okay, this is again a low power device and it has its own POS. Okay, this is the personal operating space of these devices. Okay, and personal operating space means in this space they have some electrical signal or some radio signal up to which these devices can communicate. And suppose when they move towards each other, suppose it moves towards this left and this one moves towards right, and at some point they reach at a place where their personal operating spaces, if they intersect with each other, so then device this will be here, this one and this one will be here. Okay, and here you see these two POSs are intersecting with each other and then they will be able to communicate and they will form a network. Okay, they will be forming a network, and This network is called as just in time network or spontaneous network, or this may be called as disposable connection. Okay, disposable connection or disposable network. So in wireless LAN we have low powered devices, they have short range, and that range is called as bubble, or it may be called as your POS, personal operating space. And whenever the personal operating spaces of two devices intersect, then a spontaneous just in time or disposable connection is made. And further, if we want to have connectivity with the internet of WPAN devices, then there we have to mount wall repeaters. Okay, we have to mount wall repeaters to have internet access on our PAN device. Okay, so we have to mount the wall repeaters which can be used to access the internet, as these devices they have the short range and they can be connected to the wall repeaters, and then the wall repeaters are further connected to the internet. Okay, as we see that wireless PAN technology is a short range wireless technology, and wireless LAN on the other hand is a long range technology. So these two are complementary of each other. For example, I will draw a box here. Wireless PAN is basically a part of wireless LAN. Okay, so but they complement each other in their properties. For example, this is your PAN, this is suppose PAN, and on this side you have LAN. Okay, either wireless PAN or wireless LAN. Okay, and they are contradicting each other in their properties, because when you see these PAN networks, these PAN networks they are spontaneous disposable networks. Spontaneous disposable networks means they have ad hoc nature, and they connect when they intersect each other's personal operating space, and they form a connection, but that connection is a disposable connection that can be broken down anytime. Okay, and the devices in such networks they are low cost devices, low cost devices, and they consume low power as well. Okay, further the devices they have short range. Okay, and the peak speed in such networks, that is in PAN or wireless PAN, it varies from 1 to 10 MB per second. This is the peak speed in PAN networks. Okay, and on the other side we have LAN. LANs are not the disposable network, or they are not the ad hoc networks. Basically they are the planned networks. They are the planned networks. Okay, and they have higher cost and high power consumption. They have higher cost and high power consumption. Okay, and further they have long range as compared to the PAN networks. They are long range networks, and the connectivity or the data rate they have around 10 to 100 MB per second as their peak speed. Okay, so these are the certain properties of PANs and LANs. Okay, now we will see the PAN architecture. PAN architecture or wireless PAN architecture. As we see that these are considered as smart networks, and they are formed by using the low power devices, and these devices they are termed as smart peripherals. So the networks can be formed with the help of smart peripherals. So here we can have one smart peripheral, we can have another smart peripheral SP, we can have another smart peripheral in the surrounding of one peripheral, and we can have different number of these smart peripherals. Okay, suppose somebody some person is here, like here you have a user, and it has some devices associated with it, like some wearable devices, and these devices are connected to each other, okay, through some radio signal, fine, and they have their some POS. Each one will have its POS. POS means its personal operating space, and when this personal operating space intersect with the personal operating space of another network, another device, then they form a network, and such network is called as, what we call it as, it is wireless PAN or simply PAN. Okay, so we can have different number of these smart peripherals. They are situated like this. Suppose here you have user 2, and user 2 is having some wearable devices. These are those wearable devices, SP stands for smart peripheral, and they are intersecting each other's space, okay, personal operating space. So this is going to be one PAN, this is going to be another PAN, and these two PANs, they are intersecting each other, and inside these two PANs the POS of each device is already intersecting each other's POS. Okay, so this is how these small networks they are formed, and around these smart peripherals you can have the wireless LANs. Okay, suppose this represents your uh, WLAN device. Okay, it can be some access point. Similarly, here you can have another WLAN device. Okay, this is emitting the radio signals, and through these radio signals, these special smart peripherals, they are connected to each other, and in this PAN architecture you can have your network backbone network can be your GSM, your backbone network can be UMTS, or it can be 4G, 5G, or 6G. Okay, the backbone network is your GSM, UMTS, 4G, 5G, or 6G. Okay, and then these smart peripherals, they are there, which constitute your PAN architecture. Okay, so basically the PAN is a network for the person, between the person and the outside world. So it can be between it can be a network for the person. For example, here we have a person like this. It will have some wearable device on its wrist. Okay, it can have a wearable device on its head. It can have another wearable device on its his leg. Okay, another wearable device on another leg. Okay, so all these wearable devices, they will be connected to each other by using radio signals. Okay, similarly you can have another person who is here, and it will have its own wearable devices on it, and then these two can also interact with each other. So this is going to be one PAN, this is going to be another PAN. Okay, and similarly you can have the communication between a person, like this is a person, it will have a wearable device, some wearable devices like this, and then it is going to connect with the outside world. Okay, so here it is internet, and if it wants to communicate with the internet, it must have some gateway here. Some gateway device should be connected to this PAN. Okay, this is a PAN, and it wants to communicate with the rest of the world, and the communication will occur through this gateway. Okay, and you will have some router in between, and this gateway must have some routing functionalities, so that the packets coming to this interface, they will be redirected to another router in the route, and then finally it will reach to the outside world, or we can communicate with the internet. Okay, so this is how this architecture is basically there, and how it works. We can say that wireless PAN is a communication network for a single person, for a single user, or it can be between the persons, or it can be between the person and the outside world. Okay, and when I say these smart peripherals, so these smart peripherals can be your sensors or actuators. Sensors are actuators which are used to collect the data, and that data either can be kept at the sensor or can be sent to the cluster head of those sensors, or it can be sent to the outside world by using some gateway which have the routing functionalities. Okay, and these sensors or these smart peripherals, sometimes they are equipped with computation engine and sometimes they are just to get the data or to collect the data only. Okay, so this is about the architecture of PAN and the properties of PAN, how it is different from LAN. Basically it is a part of PAN, but both of them, basically PAN is a part of LAN, but both have the complementary properties. Fine, so we will stop here. Thank you for watching this lecture.